Okay, lesson 10 homework. We have been rounding and rounding and rounding. So now we're going to use our place value understanding. So just understanding how numbers progress through the place value chart, their value, the 10 times rule, also visualizing or actually drawing the vertical number line, and being able to round to any place using real world problems. So to start us off, they're just going to have you round, 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 round. And it's going to be important to look at which place you're rounding to. So they gave you one number, 845,001, to round to the 1,000, 10,000, and 100,000. So it's a little bit interesting because what they're trying to get you ready for is to, the last question is asking, which place would you round to get the most accurate answer? So if you round to the thousands place, it's either 5,000 or 6,000, and it's obviously closer to 5,000, so it's 845,000. If you round to the 10,000s place, it's either 40,000 or 50,000, and this is closer to 50,000, so it's 850,000. And if you round to the 100,000s place, is it closer to 800,000 or 900,000? If you think of the vertical number line, it's 800,000 or 900,000, and it's closer to 800,000. Now, which of these numbers is closest to the actual number? Well, it's when you round to the thousands place. So when you round to the smallest place value, you get the most accurate estimate. So you're going to complete each statement by rounding the number. So if you round this to the nearest 100, well, that's closest to 800. If you round this to the nearest 100, this is closest to 800, so 12,800. If you round this to the nearest 100, well, that's closest to 200, isn't it? So it's 951,200. And I know I'm going quickly, but this homework is to see if you can round efficiently. So not needing to think too much, but seeing numbers and using your number sense and your place value understanding to be able to round. Not quickly, like it's a race, but just using your number sense and strategies and models. So if you want to draw your vertical number lines, that would be fabulous. I would love to see that. But if you can do it in your head using your number sense and place value understanding, that's wonderful as well. So whatever strategy works for you, everybody has a different strategy that helps them to succeed and to do well. And it might change from question to question. So do what works for you and don't worry about anyone else. Okay, so these are all to the nearest 1,000. So this to the nearest 1,000, is it closer to 1,000 or 2,000? Well, 1,000. This is a tricky one because number goes to the 10,000s place. If we look at the thousands place, is it closer to 5,000 or 6,000? Well, 5,000, so 65,000. And 9,400. Ooh, is that closer to 9,000 or 10,000? I think it's closer to 9,000, 99,000. And we're rounding to the nearest 10,000. Well, is that closer to 60,000 or 70,000? Well, I think we know that's closer to 60,000 because it's, how about this? 80,000 or 90,000? 80,000. Ooh, how about this one? 9,000? 90,000? I think this is awfully close to 900,000, isn't it? Okay, and also to the 100,000. Oh, is this close to 800,000 or 900,000? Ooh, closer to 900,000. This is closer to 500,000 or 600,000? 500,000. Is this closer to 600,000 or 700,000? 700,000. Okay, now we're getting to our word problems, and this is when you have to kind of think through some and apply your rounding to real world situations. And again, Eureka Math was created in New York. It was originally called Engage New York. So we're going to talk about the New York City Marathon instead of the Boston Marathon. We could actually say it's the Boston Marathon and have different numbers. But since this is a New York program, they're going to use the New York City Marathon. Okay, so it's from 2011. 29,867 men finished the race, and 16,928 women finished the race. Each finisher was given a t-shirt. Well, isn't that nice? I think you earn that after you run 26 some odd miles. about how many men's shirts were given away and about how many women's shirts were given away. So basically, they're asking you to round. They're not telling you which place to round to. You get to choose. So I chose the 10,000s place, since both of these numbers go to the 10,000s place. And I said rounding to the 10,000s place, because you have to explain how you got your answer, means that you look at the thousands place. So 29,857 rounds to 30,000, because 29,000 is closer to 30,000 than 20,000. 16,928 rounds to 20,000, because 16,928 is closer to 20,000 than to 10,000. So I said men that actually have 29,857 is about 30,000 men's t-shirts. And women, 16,928 is about 20,000 women's t-shirts. So you have to explain how you got your answers and actually give your answers. Well, in the 2010 New York City Marathon, 42,429 people finished the race and received a medal. But before the race, they had to order the medals, right? They had to make sure they had them. So when they passed the finish line, they could get their medal. So if you were in charge of ordering the medals and you had to estimate how many you would need, would you have ordered enough? So what I said, because you have to explain your thinking, what I said was, as the person ordering, you need to decide which place to estimate to, right? So I rounded to the 10,000s, to the thousands, to the hundreds, and the tens before I could say what place I'm going to order or round to. So we are starting with the same number, and if we round to the 10,000s place, would it be 40,000 or 50,000? And it would be 40,000. Well, would that be enough if we ordered 40,000? No. If we rounded to the thousands place, would it be 2,000 or 3,000? Well, it would be 2,000. So 42,000. That's still not enough. It's close, but not enough. If we round to the hundreds place, it would be 42,429. And if we look at the hundreds place, 429, that's closer to 400. So 42,400, still not close enough. So we would have to round to the tens place, and 29 is close to 30. So we would have ordered 42,430 medals. So if I rounded to the 10,000s, thousands, or hundreds, I would not have ordered enough medals. Rounding to the tens place is the only estimate that will ensure that there are enough medals. So I had to round to all the different place values to figure out that, I'm going to have to round to the tens place. If you just did to the 10,000s place, you would say, I wouldn't have enough medals, because you wouldn't. And finally, in 2010, 28,357 of the finishers were men and 14,072 of the finishers were women. About how many more men finished the race than women? So then, to determine your answer, did you round to the nearest 10,000 or 1,000? Now myself, this is how I figured this out. I said rounding to the thousands is more accurate because it's a smaller place value and the digits in the 10,000s place remain the same. But rounding to the 10,000s place would make mental math easier, but the answer would not be as accurate. So I went for the easy one. Did I go to the easy one? No, I went to the thousands. 28, so I looked at the 8. So 8,357, that's closer to 8,000, so 28,000. 14,000 stays at 14,000. So 28,000 minus 14,000 is 14,000. So 14,000 more men finished the race than women. Now, if we rounded to the 10,000s place, that would have been 30,000. Oops, this is going to mess this up, huh? Move them over. And this would have been 10,000. Would that have been easier mental math? 30,000 minus 10,000 is 20,000. It would have been. It wouldn't have been as accurate, but it would have been easier to do 30 minus 10. or 3 minus 1 is 2. So while it would be easier to round for mental math to round to the 10,000s place, rounding to the thousands place makes it more accurate that 14,000 more men finished the race than women. But again, it is your choice what you want to round to. You just have to explain why you did what you did. Okay, so great job. We're on to lesson 11 shortly. And I'll see you then. Bye-bye.